Hi everyone, welcome to our rainbow teacup tutorial. In your kits you should have some rainbow clay, different colours, your template mat, some tacky glue, super glue, a paintbrush for painting the glue on, your sphagnum moss to fill your pots, toothpick, and finally your handful of baby sucks, well 10 to be precise. Oh, I'll chuck those away. Alright, let's get started. So we're going to begin with our rainbow teacup. You can see it's pretty simple. It's just like that old school pinch pot style with a little handle and a little flat dish with a bit of a divot to hold it in place. Let's grab our clay. Oh, and of course you need a little chucks or wipe to clean your hands in between because some of the colours do tend to transfer rather easily. Alright, time to begin. So I'm going to start off with a little handle because you don't need very much for that. It's a bit easy to distribute clay. Just grabbing a tiny little ball. If you grab too much, that's no stress. You'll sort of learn that soon. You can see there how much you need. Rolling it in your hands to make it nice and soft, and then you're just going to simply roll with a flat motion to create a bit of a long length, and then you're going to bend it to create that D shape. Oh, sorry, it wasn't quite fat enough. I made it a bit skinny. So you try not to do it too skinny, and then you bend it and create a little D shape. Like so. Next, we're going to be doing our little flat dish. And pretty much after we do this bit, whatever's left over, you're going to be using for your teacup. So doing the same, grabbing a bit, rolling it out, having a test if you have too much or not enough. That's okay. So we're going to flatten it down with our finger, and you can see as I'm pressing it, it's creating that little divot in itself, which works really well. It's smoothing it out. And you can see it's the right amount of thickness. You don't want to make it too fat, of course. It'll take a bit longer to cook. Cool. Looks pretty good. Of course, I'm still adjusting. To the final bit, we're going to squish it up once again, make it nice and soft, and you can already see the red that's transferring onto my hands. Make it nice and circular, because this does help with the next step. Get it as circle as possible, or sphere, sorry. And you're going to make a nice flat bottom, push it onto the template mat slightly. And from there, you're going to use your thumb or one of your fingers, ensuring you have nice short nails. You're going to squish it into your round ball, and you can see it's creating a little bit of a indentation, which is going to form our cup. So you can see I'm sort of pinching it upwards, trying to create a deeper hole. So you want it a bit thinner at the base, and then sort of span out, just like a normal teacup. And you do want to ensure that that hole is relatively deep, enough so the moss and the sucky sits in there well enough. This is the part where if you have long nails, you might stab it a little bit, but that's no stress because it's going to be the inside anyway. But definitely prefer to have short nails for the clay work, unless it gets a bit messy. Looking pretty good. Looks pretty similar to my first one. Yeah. I mean, if it's not the exact same as mine, I wouldn't stress. I think it's all about personal preference. Your own quirky creations. Cool. The final thing is to test it in your little saucer. Make sure it fits in that little divot nice and evenly. It's not going to tumble around or sit funny. And then we're going to add our little handle. So you push that on, apply a little bit of pressure to get it to sit in place nicely. You don't want to squish too hard, obviously, and smush it in. And then you're going to be grabbing your toothpick, and you're just going to sort of be blending the handle a little bit with your teacup. Not too much, don't want to make it too messy again, but just the tiniest bit. I think I do a close-up further along. The purple teacup, that's what it is. I do a close-up in the purple teacup to show you guys how you do it up close. So definitely watch the tutorial probably before you start. Have a little bit of a run through, suss it out. Oh, and finally we're going to be putting our little hole in there for drainage. Awesome. Moving on to the orange. I'm going to speed it up a little bit now because obviously once you get the gist of it the first time, it's pretty much the exact same process for each of them. Creating that D shape again. You might actually notice that some of the different colours of clay will also be firmer or softer than the others. The red in particular, you have to squish and make it nice and soft and warm before you can actually work with it. Doing that little divot again. Oh, I love the colours. And then the orange teacup. Squishing it up, you can see it takes me a while to get it smushed. I actually edited some of the smushing out because it takes so long sometimes. And again, if you guys are wanting to do your own sort of technique for doing this pinch pot style, that's totally up to you guys. That's totally cool. It's all about personal preference again. Smushing it down again to make sure it's got that nice flat edge, and then lining it up with our dish to make sure our divot's nice and even with the base of our teacup. Cool. And then again, we're adding our little handle, smushing it on, and then using our toothpick to prick the little edges to make it a bit more combined with our teacup. Cool, that looks awesome. So moving on, we've just got it sped up, so this is where you guys can get creative and do this all on your own. I'll come back and talk to you guys a bit further on. our rainbow teacups are done. It's now time to bake them in the oven. I think I ended up putting them in for 5 minutes. And you can see we've got them in separate to their little dishes because you don't want them to stick. So yep, 5 minutes. Awesome. No. Yep, no, I go back to 5, watch. Yep. And then you can see it's at 200, but that's because my oven's bodge. Generally it's about 180. Sweet, so we're gonna have a look in there, see how they're doing. Generally, your clay should be good enough so when you stick it with your fingernail, there's no indentation, so there's still a bit left to go. I'm gonna chuck them in for another couple minutes. Yes, there's the 180. Oh, 3 minutes. Let's have a look. Awesome, so if you see that little bit of smoke there, that's a really good indicator that they're done. You don't need to be careful though, because once they start to smoke, it's only a matter of minutes before they are burnt. So you can see here, no indentations, and it's still a little bit soft, but nothing compared to what it was initially. Now comes to the fun part. Well, I love anything with succulents, so opening your little tacky glue. This is water-based, so it's not going to harm your suckies at all too. And we're going to use our paintbrush to just dab it on the inside, trying not to cover up the hole in the bottom. You don't want to cover that drainage. I hope you guys appreciate that this was really hard to do one-handed. You can see my little teacup spinning around. So a good amount of glue. And then we're going to be grabbing some of our sphagnum moss and placing it into our teacup. So you roll it up into a little ball, make it nice and compact. And you just pop it in place. And you want to push it down so it's nice and flat with the top of your teacup. You don't want it bulging over too much so it doesn't fall out too. Then you're going to grab your little suckies. It's time to plant up. I'm going to pick, this one. And grabbing your toothpick helps with making a little divot or a hole for your sucky to be glued into. And you're going to grab your tacky glue, add a small amount to your succulent. If there's not much of a stem, you can pull a couple of leaves off to create a bit more. Tiniest little bit. And then we're popping it in place. Now these suckies have been in cutting form for a few days, so putting the glue on there, the glue won't get directly into the suckies as well, so that's great. And then we're going to chug on and speed it up again. A little time lapse. And yeah, you guys can just watch the remainder of the process. Good luck and have fun. Our pretties are done. Thank you so much for buying one of our tutorials, guys. We hope you have a fantastic time creating. See you later.